Architectural Review Board. We'll have a roll call of members. Mr. Kunkel.
Here.
Mrs. Podorf is absent. Mr. Skian.
Here.
Mr. Zumbrun is present. Mr. Schurmeyer.
Here.
Mrs. McLean-Gross is absent. Mr. Buffington is absent. Mr. Gifford is absent. I'd like to review the minutes that were sent out from the previous meeting. Would someone like to make a motion concerning those minutes?
1 point. This one that was sent to City Council as approved.
Yes.
145 East Philadelphia.
Yes.
Yeah, that was accidentally, then Joe, he emailed or called me or something, and he said, well, I had one more time to do it. So, yeah, that is a mistake, and it did go there for approval, but I also put him on first this time, and he knew to show up today for his last presentation, so I
believe
calling.
Yeah, that should have been corrected to say that it was pending approval at this meeting with a resubmittal. So if we could make that change to the minutes for that case, 145 East Philadelphia Street, we can.
With that amendment, I move to accept the minutes.
And Dennis, you want a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. First case this evening was tabled from May the 11th, 145 East Philadelphia Street. Repair to leaking dormer roof, replace rotted wood as needed, paint all exterior wood surfaces, remove rotted wood fascia at roof line, replace with wood fascia and paint. Fascia at roof line is beyond repair. Someone here to discuss that property?
No, he's not here. I'm calling him right now.
Okay, we'll table that one.
I thought, because Joe had sent,
He had sent something
yeah,
forward.
and then he called me, and I had sent him an email about how
Right.
we were close, there just need to be a few tweaks, and I never heard back from him. He probably
Right.
could have settled it without bringing him back here.
I think that he's supposed to show up this evening,
Okay.
according to Nancy.
Okay.
So we will go to the second case, which is 31 South Pershing Avenue. The existing conditions are a warehouse currently used by the county for storage purposes. They'd like to demolish the existing warehouse, which we could not find documented in historical records of York, to provide parking for county employees. The scope of work includes the demolition of existing building and the regrading as required to accommodate a parking lot. Attached plans show the floor plans and exterior elevations of the current building and lot as it stands today. Is someone here to discuss that project? Yes, hi. Would you like to just walk us through it?
Yes, and I have additional exhibits. If
Sure.
that's okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Speak into the microphone, please, because it is being recorded.
I'm Blair. I'm with Millet Group. I'm with the architecture firm on behalf of the County of York. We are looking to investigate if we are able to propose this existing warehouse you see outlined on Image 1 on your packet at 31 South Pershing Avenue. If you turn to Image 2, we had a book from Frederick B. Rowe that outlined the Atlas of York County in 1903. And as shown on this map, the parcel was previously subdivided into lots consisting of row houses and a previous planing mill with an alley separating in between the parcels. The tax map was last updated on February 9th, 2023, and it also shows this alley separating the current parking lot into separate parcels, which is separate from the building that we're proposing about tearing down, which kind of reiterates the fact that it was previously subdivided in historical years. Another aspect, if you turn to image 3, is the fact that this building and warehouse was constructed of more current materials. So having the masonry pieced together with the brick is 20th century building construction, and is also emphasizing that this is not a historic building, and if the county chooses to tear it down, it would not contribute to the historic fabric of York City and should be approved to be demolished if you agree. Any questions or comments?
Just give us a minute to digest it.
Oh, absolutely. And then what was submitted was the architectural drawings of the first and second floor and the exterior elevations to document what exists currently with the materials drawn out.
Nancy, as far as you know, I mean, I know the answer to this just by looking at this building, but the, back when we used to have a consultant, there were surveys of every building pretty much in the district taken by Historic York at some point. And the consultants had access to it and would write this up in their review. A building like this would, while it is over 50 years old, anything over 50 years old is considered historic. And whether it's a contributing building or not, and then that would have to go through, like for example, if the county was getting state or federal funds, this would still have to go through review by the Historic and Museum Commission, because it's over 50 years. And it's a 20th century building, but you know, I can tell by looking at it, it's over 50 years. So that's a lot now, because everything going back to the 1960s is historic. And then some. We're close to the 70s now, if not in it. Anyway, so are those kind of surveys, do you have that resource? Because we don't get write-ups anymore. We don't get anything that says, yes, this was surveyed as a non-contributing resource to the historic district, which it is. I mean, I would say by looking at it, it is a non-contributing resource. So, you know, it's not a contributing historic resource. But we don't have any of that information anymore from any of those surveys.
Okay, so I'm going to answer, I don't know. So no one, you know, said to me, hey, here, this is where you can go to look up anything and do anything for a review that is, so you're saying anything over 50 years old is,
Yeah,
There's
well, like
been
we've
surveys
done
done?
discussions with guidelines and all of those other things. Yeah, there used to be, you know, all of this information that, I mean, if
was it
you or somebody
online?
should be able to look up.
Was it, you saying it was online?
No, it was, I think a lot of the records were held by Historic York at that time.
Oh, okay.
Archived.
Yeah, it was archived, yeah. And I know even after Historic York stopped with being the consultant, I still think JMT in their reviews had access to some of it, didn't it?
They did.
Because it would show up in her reviews. So maybe somebody reaching out, if they would talk to you, reaching out to JMT might help with that. Because again, we're gonna make the supposition based on experience, but all of this should be documented in the cases that, yes, the survey says that it's a non-contributing resource, and then, you know, otherwise, you know, we as a board have to evaluate that, but
So if I find this information and we have a case like this, let's say again, if it is a non-contributing, do they need to come in front of HARB at all? Or they still do need to?
sometimes it was done as a staff review if it's a non-contributing resource. That was always made by, the determination was made by the consultant.
Okay. I will look into that and see what I can find out.
I mean, I would say that this is a non-contributing resource. It obviously is a mid-20th century building, probably sometime in the 1940s era. It's still historic because it's over 50 years old. So, I guess anything really 1973, right?
Right.
Is this building currently occupied?
It's currently a storage facility, so there's things, nobody really in and out. The county uses it for storage of random plywood and chairs and whatever.
So it's a county warehouse.
Yes, correct, yep.
Okay, thank you.
And some parking.
And because it's in a historic district and a National Register district, depending where your funding sources are coming from, yeah, they should be run by PHMC. But anyway, so I know because we do federal and state projects all the time. So we face this all the time. So that's what, by the book, that's what the rules are. So if they, just let you know,
Okay.
so.
And we're here today just to see if it's an option. We're not sure if we're going to move forward.
Oh, if you're gonna tear it down.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you don't wanna vote today to allow, because,
We'd like to vote to get an answer, or
Okay.
your group to vote, or see what our next steps are as an option, but just if it's
okay,
feasibility, yeah.
okay.
It was presented to me as they would like to demolish it and make parking for York County employees to park it.
And it's surrounded by parking now anyway, so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, except for the corner. I mean, any of the really historic fabric's been, truly historic contributing fabric's been long demolished.
So we can move to approve it?
I would think we can, yeah. I mean, I wonder if this was the location of, there was an Italian and an African-American business neighborhood. I don't know if this was the block or not, but, is this the parking lot behind the Bonton? Or is that up a block? Anyway.
It's up a block.
That's up a block. All of that was, unfortunately, that was a business district that was demolished in quote-unquote urban renewal that destroyed a whole neighborhood. But anyway, that's not our thing. I think this was probably part of that when all this was cleared out. Anyway, yeah, I don't have a problem, voting to demolish it. I don't think it's, but again, it'd be nice to have all of that backup for the files, yeah. For the time when somebody comes with something that truly is a contributing resource and wants to demolish it. So, why we would be allowing this, but why not something else?
I will look into that
Yeah.
and see what I can search and find.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
So I make a motion that we accept the application as presented.
yes, and I would add that, I guess first I gotta make a second, and then I would say would add that because we're judging it to be a altered, non-contributing building, yeah.
If that's the way it's worded, I'll second it.
it's been moved and seconded to accept the application as presented. I'm just going to state that in general, it's a slippery slope for approval of the demolition of historic buildings that are not structurally deficient.
Right.
And while I concur that it is a building that's been significantly altered and probably, we don't know, probably dates to the 40s, might date earlier, absent any additional documentation, I feel like I'm blind in recommending approval to demolish, so I would be voting no. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Opposed? Motion is passed.
Thank you.
And again, Nancy, I think that's why it's important, as long as we don't have a consultant, that information needs, what Craig's point is, needs to be found.
So JMT was our consultant
They
before,
were the last
correct?
one, and then before that, for like 30 years plus, was Historic York.
Historic York.
Yeah, and they had a lot of information, but I don't know if that's even accessible anymore.
So if JMT is willing, they could submit to me, say what, was a spreadsheet with the information on, or how would that, in what format
I
do you
don't
think
know
that
what
would be in?
format it was in, it was probably in files. I
Okay.
have no idea, because a lot of these surveys were done in the 70s and 80s. So you're talking, stuff that's 50 years old, 40, 50 years old already, So I wouldn't doubt it, that, you know, unless somebody reformatted it at some point. And there are guidelines, there's all sorts of other things that, yeah.
Well, as a consultant, though, if they're no longer our consultant, wouldn't have they needed to turn those files over to us?
Yeah, or else they access them somewhere in the city, yeah. Yeah, I know, you know, they were on file somewhere or else here, yeah.
Okay,
I thought Historic York had stuff and had resources that they wouldn't release to the city because they, basically lost the contract and that was a sore point. So I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, we need that, you know, information.
I'll see what I can find.
Okay.
Just bear with me, I have to write this up. And what it is.
I just talked to Joe, and he said he talked to you
Mm-hmm.
about that it would be okay.
I
Since it went to
mean,
council.
the rest of the board can chime in with it. He didn't, I think we were talking about it by email that we were close.
Exists.
Yeah, and then he had called me. Well, he had emailed me, and I was on vacation and didn't get back with him, and then he called me. And I was so confused. Seen the voicemail, and the voicemail, I said to him, did I send an email or did I sent it an email, so, and I copied the board on it, I said we were close, and I gave a couple pointers about changing morning profiles and stuff like that, and I expected he would just get back with me with a revised sketch, or reach out to me and say, well, change this, and then I'd send an email on the board and say, fine. I mean, what he has would be fine, I recommended a few tweaks to make it better, but I've never seen those tweaks.
So, okay, so just ask him to get back to you or something, maybe.
Yeah, if he has a final sketch with the tweaks, and then at least we can reassure the board, you know,
Okay,
and then send it back out to the board and we'd be fine.
okay.
Because I don't think,
So I'm just gonna mark that, will be submitted internally
yeah,
on,
yeah, just do
on
it
that
that
in
way.
the minutes, is that good?
Yeah. Or when he goes to apply for his permit from Steve, when he shows what he's got, it just needs to be a couple of minor adjustments. That would make it better.
But by and large, I thought what he submitted was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was much better than the first.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's close.
The next case is 812 South George Street, demolition of existing garage and construction of a carport. And this was discussed some at our last meeting. Go ahead.
So I have this is, the top one here on the pamphlet is what it's gonna look like, except the door, it's gonna be a single door, not a double door. And the sides will not go all the way down. So there's a fence on either side of the neighbors that blocks the gap that's gonna be there. But up until that area, it'll be covered. So if you look in the picture, it has the side walls. We're gonna, inside the yard, we're gonna leave it open, so there won't be a window or anything like that, but you really won't see any of that from the alley.
So this is like a garage structure, but you're saying it's gonna be a carport structure. So it's gonna be open on the sides, but you're still gonna have doors on the alley side.
Yes,
Oh, to keep people out of it, okay,
correct.
got it.
Yeah, and then if you guys need any of the, unfortunately, I don't have any schematics printed out for you, but I do have them on my phone if you want to take a look at them.
I think you had some photographs of the current building.
Yes.
Yeah, and I had looked, I'm looking it up now in Street View, cause it's off of Cleveland, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the existing,
So what happened, I don't know if you remember from the meeting, but, the existing roof had 4 layers on it, and it had collapsed in the center.
it's this red brick garage there, right? Is that it?
Correct, yeah, in fact, is it collapsed in the picture or no?
It's hard to tell.
Okay.
Which side is the collapsed one? The north or the south?
It was collapsed completely, the center.
Okay, yeah, you can't tell that from when this picture was taken, maybe it
So,
wasn't. Or
from it sitting that way and weather
You can sort of see
and
it.
weight and all that,
If everybody wants to see it, there's,
buckled the walls, all 4 walls were buckled.
in its context. Now, is it gonna be a single door, double door? Not that it
Single
matters.
door.
Single door, okay, so it's gonna be it's gonna be similar to what's there
Correct.
and what's beside it, it's just gonna be, wood rather than brick. It's gonna be a vertical,
Well,
Board
that
down
is
the
actually a
inside.
galvanized steel structure.
Oh,
That's
okay.
what this is.
oh, okay, yeah, I see that now, okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, it's surrounded by wood and concrete block and all sorts of other brick garages, so, I mean,
So those, a lot of the
Okay.
garages there are actually, the one that's next to us has shaker style shingles on it.
mhm.
And the one that's next to that has, I believe, regular
310.
2-inch siding, maybe. It's real small.
Yeah, one of them has a
Siding.
narrow wood siding, the other one has a, like you said, some kind of shingle siding, and then next to the one with the narrow wood siding, it's concrete block.
So I do have a picture here somewhere
Yeah.
of the roof collapsed. I don't know if you guys can see that or not.
So it'd be just a matter of,
Here's a picture of the inside, if it helps. There was a secondary tongue and groove roof inside, and if you can see,
Yeah.
it's completely buckled that as well. So we took all that down because it was super unsafe, like it was just, and then what happened was from that weight, this top portion of this brick wall here was it was pushing out on both sides. And then really it was only, the top portion here that was bricked in the front where the original garage door was. As soon as we started taking boards away, that thing just went crashed to the ground. So there was nothing holding it up, really. It was,
Well, the need to demolish is beside the point.
correct.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if this particular structure meets the guidelines or.
yeah, I think the form and all of it is, it's gonna be, the same roof type, it's gable roof, it's gonna face the alley, it's gonna be a single door like the current one, it's gonna be pretty much the same height, right?
Yes.
Everything else, it was really just for the board, I guess you're proposing a galvanized metal,
Correct.
vertical metal siding.
Yep.
The buildings around it, like I say, Barry, this one has a brick face at least on it, the other one beside it has a cedar shingle, which may not have been original, the one on the other side looks like an arrow wood siding, and then the one next to that, like I said, it's concrete block.
Well, there's also one that's about 4 doors down, that's closer to the church.
Mhm.
That is block, it's actually cinder block.
Yeah,
So there's
It's a mix.
6
It's a
different
mix.
types of material that's
Yeah.
done there.
yeah. I mean, I mean, it's a garage in an alley, I mean, I don't know, it's gonna just look like another utilitarian garage, probably no matter what the siding is, I mean, what's your thoughts?
Well, if every one was original to the house, then we might be pickier about throwing in a metal one. But
Yeah.
due to them all being mixed,
And this one, I don't think is even original to the house, I'm sure it's not, yeah. Yeah, we're not talking about an old carriage house.
I'm just curious, why no sides? Not that it's really,
Money.
Really, is that much more to put?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's an investment property for us, and we don't wanna spend the money to put the sides on it. They don't really serve a purpose for us, for what we need. If the outside is secured and everything's locked, we don't need it. We don't, it's not necessary.
10 feet of snow blowing in.
Well, I mean.
I'm ready to.
that neighborhood,
Go ahead.
because it's not far from my home,
Okay.
has a lot of wildlife, nocturnal wildlife, raccoons.
Possums, skunks.
possums, Yeah. It's not germane to our discussion here,
Sure.
but I just want to make that point to you. It'd be a shame to get 3 months in and say to yourself, Well, I wish we'd put sides on this thing, because at that point, it'll cost you a lot more to put sides in retroactively than it would initially. So,
Possibly. I mean, the guy that would be doing the work is local. I don't know that it would be astronomical, but good point.
Well, and it's not like you have to, finish it inside or anything. I mean, it can be just studs inside. You just need, some sort of sheathing to provide lateral stability and tie that so the sheathing doesn't rot, and put your vertical metal
Well, this one-
siding on the outside.
This one really is, there's a little bit more support inside based on
Right.
what he was telling me, simply because it has a door on it.
Yeah,
A regular carport that doesn't have sides or a front or a back
right,
that you can pass right through,
right.
that's obviously just,
Yep.
Basic, maybe 24 on center,
Right.
however.
Yep.
This one's just a little bit beefed up, more beefed up.
Sure. Sure.
I make a motion, we accept the application as presented.
Somebody else needs a second, I second the last one.
Then I'll second it. Fine.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
Who seconded that, I'm sorry?
Mark Skian. All in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
I'm going to abstain. I'm going to abstain because I'm not altogether comfortable with a carport in a historic district. Motion is approved.
In the alley though, so.
You all need the pamphlets, you're welcome to keep them if you need them.
I don't need it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The next case is 328 West Newton, replace old 6-foot-high wooden fence with a new 6-foot-high wooden fence.
Good evening, gentlemen. Yeah, it's a fairly straightforward request. I've submitted some photos of the fence in its current state, and parts of it are starting to lean and sag, and you can't tell from the photos, but there's a good section of it that has rotted at the base, and we don't want it to fall over and damage something or someone, and so we know it's time to replace it with new material. There's a photo showing a wooden fence with horizontal slats. Do you all have a copy of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
And the horizontal fence is what you're proposing?
Yes. The rot that I mentioned along a large section of fence rotted away the very bottom portion of all those vertical slats. So I figure with horizontal slats, if the bottom slat rots out, that's one slat that needs to be replaced rather than a whole section if there's future rot in the coming years.
Okay.
That's why I submitted it to the board, because I wasn't sure you guys' thinking on horizontal versus vertical.
I mean, most of the times they were vertical, but I don't know that I have a problem with this.
Well, the only concerns I have is twofold. Number one, the proposed looks more like a barricade than a fence. And the second one is that, practically speaking, what's probably rotting away on your current fence is the vertical fence posts, which you would still maintain in the horizontal structure. Is this proposed fence designed where the vertical or the horizontal slats are nailed to the vertical uprights?
I believe so. I have a representative from the company that's doing the work here today. I think he could provide some further details about the workmanship of the proposed fence.
I'm not concerned about the workmanship, it's just the design.
The design.
Okay.
I don't know the particulars of the design other than what I've seen in the photos myself.
Okay,
It would be screwed.
they'll be screwed.
Yes.
Okay.
So both sides look the same?
Pretty much, yes, sir. We offer in our portfolio horizontal, vertical, slanted, shadow box. Which really we can Sure, sure. We offer vertical, horizontal, shadow box, sometimes angled, depending on what Pinterest kind of gives our customers more ideas than we can come up with. And so this particular customer likes the idea. It's pleasing to their eye for the horizontal look.
We typically approve the fence in the second picture. where
Sure.
it's the-
That's probably 95% of the wood fencing that we do.
And I don't recall, I've been on the board for a long time, ever being asked to approve or approving a horizontal slatted fence. I don't know that it's appropriate in the district. I understand the reasoning behind it. The initial comment was sort of my comment as well. It kind of looks like a barricade, not a fence. The type of fence that was originally there, I'm imagining,
The stockade style, I think, was originally there.
the stockade. I thought the original fence was.
Or it could be
dog-eared.
dog-eared. Dog-eared, it could be.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like the second picture. like-
Yeah.
That's dog-eared, correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I would say 99 times out of 100, the type of fence that's proposed and we approve. I'm not altogether opposed to the horizontal. I wonder structurally, what's your experience with that on wind loads? I would think a prevailing wind could put so much pressure on that it would pull it right over.
So there's probably millimeters of gaps in between the slats, because of the 80 pounds of concrete at every post. Even if we were going to replace it with a vinyl privacy fence would be completely solid. We haven't experienced any type of wind damage in the city due to there's other obstructions to the wind coming through the neighborhood than just the fence, if that makes sense.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're okay with it?
What's your thoughts about it?
As I said, I'm not aware of this being historically found anywhere in the city or in the district. And I'm trying to think of any case that was ever presented where it was considered and discussed. So this is
It's a new one.
a new
Yeah.
one, and I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction, no, because it's new, but if I had anyone say to me, we've found a similar fence that was built in 1950 in community, I'd like to have some ground on which to say it's appropriate. And this is, again, Nancy, a case where a professional consultant would have been able to document for us how or why this would have been completely unacceptable or would be acceptable. The fact that the materials are wood is good.
Right. Yeah, I'm just looking to see if I can get some kind of historic,
Read on it.
yeah. I mean, again, yeah, that would be something we don't have the time to do the research, but that's something that
That a
you're absolutely
consultant would have
right,
brought to
that-
us.
that when we had consultants, that's what they provided.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do the research and can provide it. There's lots of horizontal fences. And again, a lot of them they're in various contexts. I mean,
That's a modern construction.
it's a little more of a modernist look. I mean, but the thing is, it is wood. You know, I guess the question is it blend? Does it go away enough that it's, you know?
There's a vinyl fence that we share. They're on Princess Street. The back north end of their property abuts the south end of our property, and they're actually next to the. Let me show you a photo. I'll show you. This is the view of the current fence. Right here is the wooden fence that is the southern edge of my yard. This is the solid white vinyl fence that's currently at the neighbors next door. And you can see it's not wooden.
That's a city parking lot over there?
This is the city lot here, yes.
So the city lot has the vinyl fence?
Well, it's, yeah, the city lot has the vinyl fence there. It's a private home next to the city lot.
It might not be in our district, so.
No, so I know where that is, where the lady has the
Yeah, okay.
swimming
That's
pool,
300
right?
block of West
That's her
Princess,
fence.
looking at
Okay.
City
Not
lot number 50.
The parking lot, not the city parking lot.
And the fence that I'm proposing to replace is, faces back there, like underneath that maple tree there. And my neighbor's is this white fence currently there, just to give you an idea of context.
Well, I could go either
In
way.
other words, your fence is gonna look something like that once it ages.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can't tell what kind of context that is.
That's
you know.
Valley Forge.
Oh, that's
Oh, is it
historic.
really? There
I'm
you
just
go.
kidding. I'm just kidding. But that goes back to your modernist comments.
Mr. Zimbo, did you want to take a look? So this is a view of the city lot.
Right.
From 300 block of
Right.
West Princess Street. My fence is that wooden
Right.
fence right there. This is the neighbor's vinyl fence. that
Right.
Goes along.
Okay,
the
thank
city
you.
lot.
Will there be any gates?
There will be a sliding gate, yes.
And is your property just this brick building, or the
It's-
fence will
it's
go
this
till
brick-
how far?
It's, the length of fence that is getting replaced on the southern end here is approximately 30 or 31 feet.
And that's 31 feet.
Yeah.
That's where the gate will be.
And it ties into another fence that will remain,
Right.
right?
And,
Okay.
actually, our neighbor, she is interested in replacing her fence as well, assuming we get permission.
She may go forward.
She likes what we've
Right.
come up with and wants the same contractor to do hers was.
Okay,
So I found something in the 1960s. They started making horizontal fencing
Okay.
in the historic district. Do you want to see it?
Yes, please. Similar, that's more of a shadow box horizontal. I'm not sure if you want to show them.
It says the 1960s. When I looked up, it's a little,
Yeah,
it's a little
yeah,
shadow
yeah.
boxy, but they're saying the 1800s was, of course, the kind where you hitched your horse to it, so it was horizontal. Then the 1900s started doing vertical. Then the 1960s, it kind of, sort of, is this more like it?
My house was built in the 1800s, so.
Yeah, here's some more horizontal fencing.
Yeah, that's shadow box type design.
Yeah.
That was
That
very
to give it
popular.
the 3D
Yeah.
kind of look.
I mean, I guess it depends. I'm not,
I mean,
you're right, it is,
We've discussed the shadow boxing.
yeah, it is different. I mean, I probably like what you're proposing better than that for here. It is different. I'd have to look at more research to see, you know, in context, but the materials are fine. I mean, I don't, like I said, I don't completely object to it, but I can understand the caution with proceeding with it.
I think given the fact that it screens a parking area and a vinyl fence changes my view on it immensely, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Is there, I mean, if we vote for it, is there a way, Craig, that the motion could be worded such that, you know, we feel it's appropriate in this context, but not every or many contexts within the historic district, and what would we list for the reasons that we find it appropriate here?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's how we get around it.
Right.
Because I don't know that I have a problem with it per se. There might be places people then come up with and want to do it. Is this more expensive than your vertical?
Not by much.
Not by much? Okay. So I was gonna say if it's more expensive, then that's a reason we wouldn't be seeing them.
Labor cost is higher, but materials are not higher.
A lot.
Yeah,
The labor cost is higher.
right, but the materials themselves,
Because I know vinyl fences, I understand, are higher, much more expensive than wooden ones, so
Right.
it can be, so. And we don't approve those.
Again, just out of curiosity, looking at this picture, your proposed fence, it looks like there is some relief from the ground.
yeah, I don't, that's not part of the plan. We don't plan on having any kind of gap
Okay.
at the bottom there. That was just an example photo of
Okay.
materials that were to be used.
Okay.
And on the back side of the fence posts, do these boards just butt up against each other at the fence, at the vertical post?
Yeah, they share the vertical post and
Okay.
crux it.
Okay. So if rot should occur at the bottom, it's just a matter of unfastening that
Right.
board, replacing it with another.
Exactly.
Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the application as presented.
Your turn.
I'll second. Reasons. We need the reasons why we're approving this. And everybody's.
My biggest reason for not exploring this further is that the principal exposure is not gonna be on a street. What's behind you, just the alley, right?
Correct, yeah, at the back of the city lot, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. And is the alley public, or is it, you said it's owned by the city?
That's a city-owned parking lot.
Okay, so it backs up to a city-owned parking lot, not a public street or way.
Right, I have a right-of-way through the city lot.
Right.
It's in my back fence.
But, no, it's not a public
Right,
right of way.
public.
exactly, it's a,
Which
it's
that gets into-
it's a permit parking only,
Okay.
permit parking only there.
Okay. Yeah.
So
That's
you
my
said that the reason for principal, what was it that you said again? I'm sorry.
Back up to a public street or way.
Okay, moved and seconded to approve the application as presented with the acknowledgement that the fence screens a alley with public city park, or with city parking, and that is a relatively unique situation. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. No abstentions or denials. The motion's approved. Thank you very much for being patient with us, wrestling through this first time ever vertical fence, first time ever horizontal fence case.
Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. The next case is 121 through 127 East Newton Avenue. 14 LED lights on existing mural at 121, 127 East Newton. Lights will be extend along Newton Avenue and South Howard facades of buildings, diagram attached. These are powered by a panel servicing the building and controlled by photocells, specs attached.
I have some additional handouts with
Good.
more information on the specs.
So you're trying to light up the murals on the sides of the building, is that the?
I'll wait till I get back there, but it's kind of twofold. There's hardly any light in the parking lots back there, which is becoming a safety concern for residents, but that gives a better idea of where they lay out on each side. And then the specs you were given showed the two different sizes that the lights come in, but we're using the smaller, and that's the specific.
Okay.
So that lot has just went through land development subdivision, through planning. And there will be some lighting, some new lighting in there, but it won't be directly on those murals.
Yeah, there'll be some tall parking lot lights further actually into the parking lot. HARB ends right at this building.
Right, because
so
it's
that
gonna
building
be a
doesn't
mural park.
Get any of that light,
Yep.
yep.
Now the building, again,
And it says 121 to 127. It's
Yeah.
one building with two parcels.
is contemporary, even if it's older, it's non-contributing. Actually, it is contemporary. Here's a picture of it before. It looks like a 1960s era brick and concrete block building before the murals were painted on it. As I've been going over Street View, all of a sudden it changes without the murals. So they're fairly, the painting, so it's just a very simple, modern brick building. And then I back up and then the murals are on. But basically, that corner picture is what you're dealing with before it was painted. Yeah, so.
Yep.
So again, I would say it's a non-contributing building on the edge of the district. Either way, the light fixtures, I think they're appropriate for the style of the building. I don't think they're unobtrusive.
I remember to start bringing my glasses.
Hmm?
I have to start remembering to bring my glasses.
Yeah, I know.
I just, for the first time in my life, got glasses. I can't remind myself to bring them. But now I know why I got them.
Has a lighting person recommended these?
Yeah, we're using Dietz Naumann.
You,
Dietz Naumann is our electrician, and they gave us a couple of options. This light comes in two sizes, and this is the smaller one of the two. Hence the 14.
as far as how many there are and what sizes
Yep.
they are.
What are your thoughts, Craig?
I think Mark stated it well. It's a building on the edge of the district, not contributing, and we've always said paint is reversible, and on a building of this type, simple concrete construction, I think the lights are relatively benign, and if you were proposing some faux historic lighting, that would be objectionable, or something that was a huge gooseneck, that might be objectionable, but I think it's, I'm not gonna object to it.
The color of your light's gonna be on the cool white scale. It's not daylight. I'm looking at the
Halogen.
the CCT here. It's not
Yeah.
gonna be lit daylight. It's 4 to 5,000 K, which is in your cool white range. You know what the cool white
Mhm.
fluorescents look like.
Right.
They're not gonna be daylight, nor is it gonna look, it's not gonna look like incandescent light or older light, which is, the 2700. So it's gonna
Yeah, I'm
be much
kinda-
wider than that.
I'm kind of compelled by the safety aspect of the parking lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll make the motion that we accept the application as submitted.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Motion's approved. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and we had a case not on the agenda, 23 South George Street.
Oh, I just gave that to you guys in your packet. That's the staff review.
Right,
That's all I
and
did.
That
for
was reviewed
Yep.
by the staff and approved, correct?
Correct.
yeah. Just repairs to an existing fire escape.
And so,
Yep, that was it.
going back to our first case, I think there may have been some miscommunications on it.
I texted Mr. Musso and asked him to present the final to Mr. Schermeyer, and he will share it with the rest of the board.
Okay.
Did you receive what he submitted?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think we all have it. And,
Yeah, it was close, I just had a couple, and like I said, he had reached out to me he left me a phone message when I was on vacation or when I was right back, and I didn't get back to him right away, so then he sent me an email, and that's when I responded, and which I copied the board on. And it was very close, there's just a couple of suggestions I could make to make it better. I expected then to hear from him again, or him to present something, and, I didn't see anything, so.
so what are your thoughts? That if we stipulated adherence to your recommendations, it was conditionally recommended, or?
Yeah, especially if I think I described in that email, he didn't ask me any more questions, but if he follows that and goes to more of an OG, a CIMA profile, rather than all the codes, and he'd be sure, certainly doesn't have flats to flats. He does more what people thought would describe as a panel mold, but not a quarter round panel mold. That would be more appropriate. Right now, he has a lot of little cove moldings, which isn't bad, but it's a more contemporary interpretation of a cornice like that. And you wouldn't really have ever seen flat to flat. They always would have transitioned a step with some kind of molding, and it probably would have been a CIMA kind of profile. Does that describe it well enough in words, Dennis? Yeah. Yeah.
Is that how you described it to him?
Yeah. Well, I copied you on the email. I
Okay.
think I sent it to everybody.
You did,
Yeah.
you did.
That doesn't mean you read it, but Mark did.
I read it. I agreed.
So I think if he changes all of that and be sure, and then also the dental molding, he still had a little bit of too big of a step between the top of the teeth and the molding above. So if he cuts that down and pushes the teeth up, because typically you look at the way they were done and where the top of those teeth run, then you transition to the molding that crowned that. You did not have a flat area out, like these things come with these, these big flat areas to accommodate a big molding. But
Yeah, he had a transition
it needs
in
to be
there.
just cut off, yeah.
He had a transition that was kind of superfluous,
Yeah,
so.
again, you never had a
Just
big
push it
flat
up.
transition, yeah.
But if he does that, then I'm fine with
Yeah.
conditional approval.
Yeah.
Okay, give me the language one more time about the ornamentation, the OG. I mean, I understand that we don't want flat
Yeah.
depictions. We want
No flat to
raised,
flat transition, and where you have a transition in step, rather than using cove molding, use an OG molding, for lack of a better term. Technically, CIMA recta and CIMA reversa, but we won't get into that. CIMA profile, panel type molding. And again, that's why I wanted to see his
Simul.
CIMA, CYMA. That's why I wanted to see
Oh.
the transition between his blocks, because if he was gonna do those medallion blocks, rather than having a block and a recess to the field behind it, that squared area would have been trimmed with a molding.
right.
And it would have been a CIMA molding, an OG kind of molding, something like that. And then the other one was the dental molding. A lot of contemporary people that don't know how to build or design these cornices, or don't look at the way they were done and the way the old pattern books did them, is the top of the dental molding teeth, that's where you transition to a molding. And it's usually not a big step, but these bipon pieces, like he showed, come with a big, you have your teeth and you have this big flat. And they just tack that up there and then put a little molding at the top. That's not the way they did it. You would have the teeth, and right at the top of the teeth, then you'd have a transition.
Right.
So, yeah, you would not have a flat. Right, Dennis?
I took enough paint off old ones to know.
To see
yeah,
that, that's
they
how
go
they did
right
it.
up.
And actually, the teeth, you know, like I said, the teeth used to be two little sizes of blocks with each one of them in there, even in the forties. In the house I had in Hillcroft was built in the forties, the original one was done that way.
Yep.
So some little carpenter nailed all the little blocks up there. And then now you can cut it out of a 2x4 and the same size and everything, it looks fine.
Profiles are identical.
Yeah, because the saws are probably a little more sophisticated now.
I'm gonna add a codicil here that wherever possible, original materials are repaired and retained.
Yeah, that, yes, that, especially with that bay window, they didn't address any of that yet, but that needs to be, yeah. No losing that, and if they start tearing that apart and find a lot of rot, then
It
start
needs to
taking
come
it to
back.
somebody and have them, well, or take it to somebody and have them make the stuff. Take it to a Beck and Ness or a Wickstrom or something, and for not a lot, have them match it as close as they can get. And
We're
it-
making your job really hard.
It's just a lot of writing.
It's the same thing, I mean, if I.
Just
had my
print
laptop,
real
I'd
neat,
probably find the
okay?
email and send it to you the way I described it.
In addition to a consultant, Nancy, we need a stenographer.
Yeah,
Well, I'm okay, I'm just asking Craig to print neatly.
Doing the
We're-
best
we're
I
good.
can. Doing the best I can.
Well, you're lucky you didn't, when
Okay.
I was doing his.
So, Mark, would you like to just state the motion that you're recommending amendment to the presentation as you described in writing to the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
I will make a motion that we amend, are we amending it?
It's an amendment to their application.
We amend their application to make the adjustments as described in an email to Joe Musso and the board based on his questions. And
Right.
that was like 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
Yep.
Yeah, approximately 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It would have been after the last meeting, you know, it was probably, maybe it was only a week ago.
Yep.
We didn't have a meeting last time, so it's. it
Right,
was
that
2
was the
weeks
week
ago.
I was on
Yes.
vacation, so.
was 2 weeks
It
ago.
would have been, yeah, well, I would have talked to him the following week, so it might only be about a week ago,
Okay.
week and a half, yeah.
Okay, and a motion to approve an amended application, second?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to approve the amended application, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Motion's approved. Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you all for your patience. You did not have to stay, but I'm sure this is better than any,
Once your case is done, you can
this is
go.
better than anything on network television, I can assure you.
You're all on YouTube.
With the writer's strike, you know, we're here
Are
ad
we
libbing.
adjourned? Are we adjourned?
We are adjourned. Thank